Or is that just my headphones right now?
I think it's just our feed. I don't know if it actually goes through like that.
Is this your special Jack club mix?
No, it's not supposed. It's not supposed to cut in and out like that.
It's not the special Jack club mix, the truncated club mix. Damn. Huh.
Yeah, it cuts out. Maybe it's just on our side. I don't think it's like that for everyone else.
It's the DJ cutout remix.
That's like someone with a crossfader.
Yeah.
We should ask the people that are watching if it's cut up.
Here's DJs. Here's.
Yeah, it does. Cuts out, huh?
Here's.
I want another one.
I want
Just leave it running.
That's
It's
part of
good.
it. I want
It's
another.
good.
Yeah.
Just let it run.
It kind of reminds me of Peaches.
DJs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DJs.
Well, we
I don't even
are
know. I just wanted to make it silly.
Yeah. Sounds like sandwiches.
we are live, guys.
What's up?
So hello everyone.
Hello.
Hey there. Episode?
Episode 22.
Sweet. Cheers to that. I'm having a Frankfurt Ale again. It's really good. Cheers.
I'm
Polana.
representing Highland Park Brewery in LA.
I am drinking from Maui Brewing Company, Pineapple Mono Wheat.
Oh, how's that?
One of the ones you told me to get, David.
I don't think I tried that one though. It sounded interesting.
Uh-oh, there goes the notifications.
Is it sweet at all?
It's got a pineapple-ish taste. Now, why pineapple? Is that like a natural byproduct of the brewing process, or
No, they threw in pineapple.
they threw in pineapple? Yeah, Maui Gold Pineapple gives. Oh, I can't read this.
Hey, isn't it episode 23? Coxie
counting?
Mix is asking that on my YouTube page.
Who's counting?
I'm
22 or
confused now.
23. No, it's 22 because on my Facebook it says last week 21.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's 22.
It's
Yeah.
22. Jesus.
But it's
You
actually
guys-
23, right? Because we skipped one. I bring up that again.
You know, every time I try to let that go, you bring it up again. So now.
That's when everything gets thrown off because we think about the one that's the week that was cut off, and so technically it's been 23 weeks total, right? But 22
pretty
shows.
much, yeah.
23
Chris-
weeks.
Chris, what
Crazy.
was Mo saying about getting on today?
Mo is having to watch his little baby boy today.
Daddy
And
duties.
daddy duties. So he's going to try and come on if the little Ezra lets him.
Little
Great.
man.
Hi, Mo. Hi, Ezra. Let Daddy come on the show.
Let Daddy come on the show.
All right, everyone got their beers.
We have never been that ready.
It's like it's a ritual now.
It's a
Every
ritual.
Thursday.
Cheers,
Cheers,
guys.
y'all. Cheers, everybody.
Everyone.
Cheers,
Watching.
everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Shouldn't we just do a show where we just sit here and drink? We just don't even talk.
That's what we do.
That's going to be the festival that we do, the
Yeah.
DJs and Beers festival.
Oh no, the 12-hour show, right?
12-hour show, yeah. We'll just have an hour of just like no talking, maybe music in the background, and everyone just kind of drinking.
Oh, and last week, Chris, when you asked what Pilsner meant, I made a mistake. It was from the Czech Republic. That's what it's from.
Yeah. I didn't want to correct you.
Oh, you knew it.
Yeah, of course. It's
I knew it was-
Pilsen. It's in the Czech Republic. It's a city there.
I was close.
So we have, I mean, we may as well just do a catch up with, Rebo on, right? Or do you guys want to do a catch up? What have you been up to last week? Chris, you played a show. Oh my God.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Shame on you.
How dare you, Chris?
It was
Shame on
it was yeah, and it was really bad because it was actually it was a charity event to help the club scene in Leipzig. and the
Oh,
promoter
should've-
was
you
the
should've
promoter
done it.
was the city of Leipzig. So yeah,
You
But
shouldn't have
aren't
done
there also there's a group of German scientists who are conducting a study on mass indoor gatherings, right, in Leipzig.
yeah, they did that the day later on Saturday. They had a concert with Tim Bensko, that's a German act, and they trying to do some research how the virus behaves in close.
Wow, so that
quarters and
happened the
stuff.
next day. Interesting.
And who played with
Yeah.
you, Chris, on the Friday?
It was locals from
Okay.
Leipzig and myself, and it was a really big area, open air. It was interesting because it was like the only time this summer where I kind of had a sort of feeling you're at a festival. You know,
Yeah.
you're standing behind a stage. There's the dust in the air, and you hear the kick drum coming through the tent and stuff like this. You know, there was no tent, but you know what I mean, the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was like looking into into a hole in the past. Like, oh, that's how it was.
it.
But it's not like you feel there. You still it still must be an unsettling feeling, like, right, because we're still in the midst of a pandemic and things aren't quite normal yet. We're in this environment where, you know, things sort of appear normal, but
Yeah.
not really. So how is your mood? Like, how did you feel playing?
That's actually an interesting question because it's not normal. It's not like, yay, we're party, because we know we're not in a but it's more like we're together in this feeling, you know? We're together in this, we'll do this, you know. There is no euphoric thing going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should expect that, but it's on a different level. It's on a level that kind of feels a little bit more together, and we're still here, you know, for each other kind of way. It's really difficult to explain in a way.
I think we sort of have an idea of what it feels like. Just wanted to hear you articulate it.
We all miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, we all miss it, but it's going to be very different. Or it's going to be very different if there's a vaccine. I don't know if you can even say that. But it's still different than it used to be in a way, because there's some other big factor, like kind of clouding the whole thing right now. You know what I mean?
But what about now that they're announcing on the news that I saw that they have these like 15-minute tests now? I mean, I don't know how accurate those are going to be. I've been seeing those pop up, that there's going to be these 15-minute tests that you could take.
That
that
will eventually happen, I think, for sure.
I mean, they're testing. I know Ryan Elliott just came back from the States. I haven't spoken to him, but a friend of mine showed me he had a screenshot of the results that he came through. I'm not sure. I need to find out exactly what happened when he got off the plane. But he was tested straight away.
Your friend went where exactly?
This is when Ryan Elliott came back from Detroit. He arrived this week. So
yeah, well, they're doing in Frankfurt and Munich airport. They're doing, I think Lufthansa are involved, along with like some medical company, and they're doing testing. You can register in advance for the testing in Munich or Frankfurt airport, and you can get the results in 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
If you pay a little bit more, I think that's like under $100, and a little bit over $100, you can get the results in 1 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which eliminates the whole 14-day quarantine thing, depending on where you're going. If you're entering that country with your COVID results that you had from your tests only a few hours earlier, which is great. You know, it might be the way kind of forward to open things up again.
That's what I was thinking. It's like you do a festival or something, you get, but still, yeah, I don't know. Because then I guess technically, if you go to a festival, you'd have to take the test and stay there, not go anywhere. Because what if you take the test, you go get it, and then you come back, and you have it, and you test negative. You know what I mean?
Test it again and again.
Yeah. It's never gonna stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy times, man.
I read in Taiwan, they had a huge concert, like 10,000 people. where they had temperature as you enter. They had temperature checks, and I kind of jotted down what they did. They did. You were required to wear a mask. They had ID checks. Everybody entering had to give their ID, and then you would receive like a QR code that went into like a government database, and they were able to contact trace that way. And fans were encouraged by the artist. I don't know if it was mandatory. It might have been mandatory to keep your masks on during the whole concert, but if it wasn't, the act that was performing encouraged the audience to wear their masks throughout the concert. But this is in a country that had 479 cases and 7 deaths.
Yeah, that's not a big. It's not a huge deal over there.
In comparison to, well, let's just compare the U.S.
What are we at now? I stopped paying attention.
5.8 million cases.
Damn.
And 179,000 deaths.
And who was behind us? Brazil? Are they like still creeping behind us, or did they pass us?
Brazil, and I can't be sure, but maybe India is also in there.
But I heard it's a whole different strain in India too, right?
Is it?
Yeah, it's different over there.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, let's get into some better stuff.
We're starting the show on a bright note here.
Sorry.
All right. Well,
all right, thank you, everyone.
just before we continue, I just want to say thanks to Leon Oki, because yesterday, we finally signed off the first Robert Hood EP for records, and
dope.
I just want to thank Leon for all the work.
Good job, Leon.
Yeah. So,
when does that come out?
Huh?
When does it come out?
It must have been hard to keep that a secret all this time.
It was. I mean, it's been going along a long time, but the first EP comes out in October, and then the album follows in November, hopefully.
Awesome.
So,
dope.
Yes, big thanks to Robert, and it's been quite a milestone for us to get it sorted. So,
and
that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Are all the tracks on the EP on the album, or does the EP have some things that are exclusive?
I think there's 14 tracks in total, and the EPs will be 4 completely new tracks that will then feature later on the digital version of the album. So, yeah.
Well, let's get Robert on.
Yeah, definitely. We have to get him on. Yeah, for sure.
That would be dope.
Well, today's guest is for anybody that doesn't know, he hails from Mexico. We'll tell the story, but he reminded me, apparently I met him in Monterrey, which is where he's from, at a legendary club called Schizo. And I signed a record or something like that when I was still in Deep Dish. So this is a really, really long time ago. And then I heard his name constantly pop up in conversation. And then when I checked the music, I was like totally blown away. And then we met when we played an official event. I think DJ Tennis connected us on WhatsApp, and then we played together last year maybe, and we met in person for the first time since that one chance meeting. Let's bring him on. Rebo.
Amazing.
Welcome to DJs and Beers. There he is.
Oh, yeah,
hey.
What's up?
Oh. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. We should, because I've used virtual backgrounds before. We should tell everyone that you are actually in a bar. You're not in front of a.
This is not a virtual background.
Yeah, this is not a virtual background. I thought it.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it. Wow, where are you?
It's I call it the situation room. The situation room at my own house. It's like a multi-purpose place. Sometimes I just have drinks here. Sometimes I have a decent sound system. So sometimes I watch movies. And sometimes when it turns into a little club, like was like it has been a couple of times. I like to think it's the most beautiful club in the world, even if it's tiny. And it's also an extension of my studio. For example, in February, I was recording a collaboration with Who Made Who, and we set up the drums here and stuff and the mics because it has a really good acoustics. So it also does that. I'm gonna give you, if you don't mind, a tiny tour.
Yeah, can you show us a little?
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, that's the DJ booth over there.
Oh my
Wow.
God. You have a reel-to-reel. Whoa.
Yeah.
It looks like a club.
That's like custom-made clip horns over there, like double clip horns. Like I was inspired by David Mancuso's Loft, and it has a view to the river.
Oh my God.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
When can I move in?
What?
whenever you want. And then this is
Sweet.
the DJ booth. Like,
Wow.
Oh.
see,
What mixer is that?
the ENS, like a handmade from Paris.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, like super nice, all analog, and yeah, a special custom made floor to not be stressed, but also to be beautiful. Like, I don't know if you see it, but it's like bouncy, but it's wood. And yeah, and instead of art, I put there this piece.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, I like to watch it when we record something or when I play.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that a real car?
Yes.
What?
What the hell?
It's closed now, but yeah. So yeah, then there, the couch to watch the movies, and so yeah, every now and then we use it as a cinema, and lately when the pandemic went a little bit down, just to keep some sanity, my wife and I started inviting friends and friends of friends for little bar nights. My wife used to work in a really high-end cocktail bar in Moscow. So now we do cocktails for friends, and they come and we serve stuff to them every other week. We invite like 10 people or something like this. Everybody wears mask inside or go outside to the next to the river and just have a couple of drinks. Yeah, we've been doing that for the last month and a half or something. It's been fun.
How is your mixologist skills? Or do you bring special like mixologists from Mexico in?
I would love to. At the moment, it's just she's doing some of the stuff. She's really good at doing sours. We do mezcal sours and whiskey sours. She also does like a special daiquiri that like a super mixologist did once in his bar. A guy that used to work in what's the name of this super famous one in London? Artesian. He designed a cocktail especially for her, so she does this one as well. And I'm quite good at the mezcal negronis, and I've also been infusing whiskey and mezcal lately. I infuse mezcal with hoja santa and serve it with a sparkling water, which is kind of super simple but very fresh. And one of my latest things was infusing whiskey with picanha. You know, this beef. This Brazilian cut of beef, so it's kind of smoky and kind of alive in a way. So those are the few things I do. I'm not super experienced, but I love the fact of doing a couple of drinks here.
Yeah, is your wife Mexican as well?
No, she's from Moscow.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, she's
awesome.
from Moscow.
And where's Pitaya exactly? I don't know where that is. I'm not familiar.
Pitaya, it's in the countryside. The closest town is Jalapa, which is the capital of the state of Veracruz. Which is center east, very near the Gulf. And this is where I grew up. After living like 10 years in Europe, I was a little bit tired of the apartment life and about the big cities. for 5 years I was in Paris, and I was done with traffic and rude people, to be honest. And then I was one more year in Amsterdam, and then I came back here. And so that's why I moved back to Mexico and back to my original hometown. Ali was saying that we met in Monterrey. That's where I actually studied the university. I left there when I was like 19 or something like this. And then I was there for like 6 years or something like this. Then came back in 2007 to open a little club we have there, which is called Topaz Deluxe. It's a small club, like a little bit underground. Which is really
How would
nice.
you, Rebel? How would you describe Schizo?
Yeah, it was, for me, it was really a game changer, because I grew up in this tiny town, without MTV, without any real good input from outside. So when I went to Monterrey, my concept of nightlife was quite lame, to be honest. It was just like this type of bottle service, lame places with extra lame top 40 music. So, but I knew that was not enough for me. So at some point, after going to one of these clubs in Monterrey of this style, like, hey, come on, let's go to an after hours called the Skis. And I was like, okay, what is that? Yeah, just come. And then I come, and I don't know if you remember this, like, big bolt, this big metal door in the entrance, like a guy with a face like he has very few friends, like a pissed guy opening the door for you, and then you go in, and then this extremely loud sound system. No, not one place to sit. Everything was foggy. Everything was kind of hot, but at the same time, it was kind of really amazing. I don't know, and just very simple lights, but kind of the right ones just to get lost. And yeah, that was kind of an eye opener for me. And once I was there for the first time, I got super hooked. And then that's how I basically every weekend I started going there. And I didn't know what the guy in the headphones was doing, but I was like, wow, this is quite interesting. And after going several times, I was like, I would like to do what these guys with the headphones are doing. So that's how I kind of got into this thing. I went to a flea market. I bought a Radio Shack mixer, and I got 2 Discmans, and I started just crossfading between one and the other. I had no clue what tempo was or what the pitch was or all these things. So basically, for me, Schizo was really the introduction to what I do now, basically. And in one of those, countless times I was there, countless nights, well, actually more than once, I got to see you there in your deep dish days. And wow, it was like super blown away.
Sorry, and this club is in Monterrey?
This is Monterrey. It doesn't
and how
exist
far
anymore.
is that away from you, where you grew up?
It's by car. It's like a 12-hour drive. This is really up north. It's like 2 hours from from the US, from Texas, and it's the second or third biggest city in Mexico. So yeah, it's an important city, like really developed and everything, and they've had like an underground scene since quite long, opposite to my little town, which is like really behind in all this.
Yeah.
But
I think in the evolution of electronic music in Mexico, it probably ranks up there as one of the those clubs that kind of put
definitely
electronic music scene on the map in Mexico.
Definitely.
I remember it being really special for Sharam and I can't remember the owners' names, but we connected with them right away.
Antonio.
Yeah, they would constantly they would always be inviting us back to play, and we always had like this early flight out the next day.
Oh,
and they got fed up with that. So, and there was one time that they invited us to play, and they really wanted to party afterwards. And back then I wasn't doing drugs or anything like that. It was like after so many like tequila shots, you're kind of like, all right, let's wind things down. And we could play as long as we wanted. And I remember one time he came up to us. I think Sharam was in the mix, and I was next to him, and they came up to me and they're like, everything's all set. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we changed your flight so you can stay and play outside for a little private party. Like they had like a little outdoor area.
Yeah, exactly. A little patio.
And I'm like, oh fuck. I think after that, I realized that I should probably book my own flights instead of letting the promoters book it.
That was the call.
That was one of those early red flags. Like, okay, from now on, I book my own flights. So, yeah, it was
around what year are we talking about with that club? Like what year was that?
This is like early 2000s, maybe 2001, 2000. It was this period.
Okay.
Yeah. 20 years ago. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And when, like, so you started going there, and that turned you on to what, like DJing as an art form. What were your interests before that? Like, how did your interests shift from where they were, and where were they? The music.
Yeah, I mean, I was always quite confused. I knew that creativity was my forte. You know, that was my thing, and I wanted to create stuff. That was basically my thing when I was young. I was like, okay, I would love to design stuff. And my first idea was like, maybe I will design toys, or maybe I will design machines. Then at some point I wanted to work for NASA. That was one of my ideas. I didn't know what you had to study to design stuff. So I started my career, the studies of mechanical engineering. And while, you know, in the when I had already started this, they opened the subject of industrial design in my school. So I changed to industrial design because I realized that was exactly what I wanted to do. And during that period, it's the same period when I was starting to go clubbing and stuff, I realized that what I liked about design was to create an experience through any sense to people, you know? So you can create an experience through an object, through a space, like with architecture, through the mouth with a proper drink and stuff. So, and then I realized that music could be used to design experiences. You know, it could be, it's like a powerful tool to create an experience. So having this in mind, that's how I just little by little kind of started shifting my direction. I did finish my studies in industrial design, but I was already DJing as a hobby in Monterrey, and I was this close of quitting because nobody liked what I was playing back in the day. I already had a little bit of my even if I was not producing back in the day, I already had my sound of, you know, a little bit electro-ish and a little bit guitars and this kind of futuristic kind of thing. And back in the day, everybody was playing this tribal house thing with a lot of drums and and Monterrey was super hooked on this. And countless times I was brought down from the DJ booth because like, hey, the owner says that you should play more drums. I was like, tell the owner I don't have drums. So okay, bring him down. And I was super close to quit, but then a super nice and forward-thinking club opened in Playa del Carmen called Santanera, and I had a chance to play once there, just like a little.
What year was that?
This was 2003/2004.
All right. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
I was
an
finishing
epic space.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so they opened, Santanera opened December 2003. I had a chance to play some records on one night in February 2004. And that was the same year that I was gonna finish school. And I called them like, hey, I would like to play again during the Semana Santa, which is like the Mexican spring break kind of. So they told me, okay, yeah, you're welcome to come. Just pay for your own ticket, pay for your own hotel. You don't have any fee, like literally like that. So I did that. I I was supposed to play one night, and then some of the guests they had, they were not kind of nailing it in their own nights, and I was asked like some other times during that week to take over, and after that they told me, okay, that was really nice, la, la, la. And then once the owner called me telling me, okay, I know you're finishing school this year, so what about instead of looking for a job right away, why don't you come for the summer season and play some records at Santanera? So I was like, yeah, that sounds like a nice plan. And I went there for the summer, supposedly, and I basically the summer never ended. I just kept playing records until now. That was the that was the thing. And so yeah, I lived in Playa del Carmen for the next 3.5 years or something like this.
So it was a 3.5 year summer.
Yeah, basically. And then
Nice.
I continued my residency there, but I moved back to Monterrey to open this little club I was telling you about. And yeah, and then I just moved on and on and on and on.
What was Playa del Carmen like? This is all before BPM
This is
festival.
all before BPM. Yeah,
So
it
what
was
was Playa
actually,
like? Yeah.
it was really great actually. Like people which have a little bit more of a hippie feeling, they say that 2004 summer was the beginning of the end. For me, that was kind of the peak of Playa del Carmen, because it started to be a little bit more crowded, definitely, but the music scene kind of became super, super, super good. This Santanera was doing amazing lineups. That's actually where I got to meet all the compact people. They were guests there, and some people from Mutec, from Canada. They had like a really wide spectrum of guests. One of the owners of Santanera, one of the partners, was Rob Garza from Thievery Corporation.
Yeah.
So he had also a lot of input in the more left field kind of side of the guests. So we would have, I don't know, people like Kid Loco coming, or I don't know, people from his own label coming. So it was really really wide spectrum. So it was actually a crazy good school for me to see all these people from different angles, from the scene from San Francisco, for example, like DJ Garth would go to play there, and or Rob and Tug with this more psychedelic approach to disco, and then some more high tech stuff like these people from Canada, from Mutec, or the guys from Compact and stuff. So it was a very rich program what they had, and this kept on going for some years, and then it was starting to become like a melting pot, the town, and that's when BPM came, and it was kind of really great for some years, but at some point it just became a little bit too much, as you probably also at some point, like a little bit too crowded, a little bit too wasted, the people. Then yeah, it was, the fun was a little bit gone. To be honest, the last couple of times I was in BPM, I was basically just flying in, doing my show, and going away. And if I had another show around or whatever, I would not stay, or at least not stay in town, because it was too much for me. But yeah, it used to be a way smaller town, like really relaxed and really, yeah, it was really funky at some point before it turned
Would you say that
into this darky thing.
Yeah.
would you say that like Schizo and Santanera did those venues define and develop your sound, or did you already have a good grasp of what you wanted to create? You've been referred to, or maybe you referred to yourself as an experience director, and you talked about creating an experience through music, through the sonic palette of music. Like, did and then obviously you studied industrial design, so I'm sure you paid attention to atmosphere and the
Yeah,
design
totally.
space and stuff. So did all of that inform and help you develop your unique sound, or did you kind of create the magic like, did you just push your sound onto those spaces?
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. For example, for many years, I was a very, very happy DJ without having, like, I never thought about producing music because I was really happy just playing other people's music. And I'm really, as I told you before, I'm really technology impaired. So I'm really bad at technical stuff. So I was like, and whenever I would listen to somebody talking about producing music or stuff, it sounded like rocket science in my ears. So I was like, okay, this is something I will never do. But at some point, having this in mind, that I like to create moments and stuff. At least that's what I like to think. I always my goal as a DJ was to create, not only to play cool music or fun music. It was always to create some kind of moment in the dance floor. So at some point, I had, like, in my mind, like, okay, I would like to create this type of situation with a track, and I don't have this track, and I cannot find this track, and that's how I got interested in doing my own music. So I started doing little tools, and then I started to do little sketches and stuff. And at this time, Matias Aguayo was starting to create his own label back in the day, and we became good friends actually in Playa del Carmen. And I told him, he already knew me as a DJ, and I told him, like, you know what? For the first time, I'm kind of thinking about doing my own music, and I have these ideas that I would like to do and express. And he actually encouraged me to go for it. And he told me, okay, send me whatever you have, even if it's super simple. So I sent him my extremely primitive sketches, which I recorded just on with a CD player, just like I was playing everything at the same time, like poop, 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 and just record everything at once in one take on a CD player and a CD burner. And I sent these ideas to him, and he was like, wow, this can hardly be called music, but I really understand your idea and I like it. Keep on doing it. And then he gave me some tips and stuff. And then at some point in this exchange of feedback and sketches I was sending him, at some point he really liked one track, which at the end became the first EP on his label, which I was a track called Pitaya Frenesí. And that was my first release, which was 2009, and that's when I started to keep on producing some music, and then that's when I moved to Europe, and then became more connected to the compact people and stuff. And so as you say, having this idea of creating experiences or creating moments, that's how it all started for me with the music production.
And like when you were DJing and stuff, how were you? Were there record stores around there at all? Did you buy music, or how would you get your music?
In Monterrey, there was a couple of quite good ones, but quite limited on the spectrum I could buy. But for example, in Monterrey, I bought a bunch of Hooch Tunes and Yoshitoshi, of course, and all these things were available. And there was another one which was a little bit more, I don't know if underground is the right word, but a little bit more lefty, if you want to say. That's where I bought my first compact records or my first DFAs, for example. And then when I was working at Santanera, when I became kind of their main resident, I was lucky enough, and I mean, I still can't believe I still had a chance to be part of this era in DJing. They would send me to New York like twice a year to buy records. They would give me a budget for buying records. They would pay my flight, and then I would stay like a month with a friend, and I would just go record digging and come back with a bunch of music for the whole Santanera experience, for the terrace, for the club, and yeah, that was part of the process. I kind of really enjoyed it.
Did you keep those records that you would bring back?
Yeah, definitely.
You kept them at Santanera, like locked up, right?
Yeah. You meant at Santanera? Yeah, I kept them there, and also I had since I was one of the very few residents at the beginning. I actually kept all my record cases there. I used to have like, I don't know, maybe back in the day in Playa, I had like 4 record cases with like about 100 records each. And I loved to play, in the nights where I was supposed to play the whole night, because we, as residents, we had like a whole night, all night long things. Some other residents, for example, in these kind of nights, they would play like a CD or something for the first hour and a half before, before people actually arrived or there was some kind of action. Me, instead, I really like to play. I would always play my first record like 10 minutes before the doors were open, just to get in the mood, to play some ambient or whatever. And just for the bartenders to get, while they were preparing or whatever. My first track, or my first couple of tracks were only for them. And then I would just go on for the next 6-7 hours and, build up the whole situation from an empty room to the peak and to the end. So yeah, as I told you, it was basically a great school for me these years.
And I guess you felt a strong need to play open to close, so you can curate everyone's experiences fully, from beginning to end.
Yeah,
as opposed to coming in when somebody else has kind of set the tone, and then depending on how you feel about it, you have to shift gears or whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. It was part of the whole process.
I remember go ahead.
Sorry, I can really relate to that. It's really nice to set the mood, but where did you get your inspiration from? Like, where did you get your inspiration musically? Was it from your environment, or was it just already because you were in contact with so many people worldwide musically that it was basically coming from everywhere?
No, I think it was always a little bit from everything, for example, my very first memories of I don't have really a musical background or like a music family or whatever, but for example, one of my very first music moments that I can remember was listening to certain tracks when we were having road trips with my dad, and I remember that feeling of motion and music, this combination, which is something I still
I can understand. Yeah,
a lot of my music has this thing of a little bit like a movie kind of thing and stuff. I think it was since then. And for example, even before I moved to Playa del Carmen, I had a disco record collection, but I was coming from these days when they were always trying to put me down from the DJ booths, so I was always too shy to play all these records that I loved, like more older records and these kind of things. And I was like, this is too old for these people. They won't like it because they listen to super modern music. That's what I had in my head. And then in Santanera, actually, was when I lost this fear of going, any direction while playing. So all these things that I already liked, I finally started playing, and I sometimes would, after a minimal record, I would play a disco track and somehow make it work. And yeah, it was
this is what I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned Rub and Tug, and you mentioned you've got the ENS mixer, and you mentioned Mancuso. I mean, were people were the crowd into like disco in the mid 2000s in Playa del Carmen? I mean, was it a thing where you could play this kind of music? Was it?
It was not a thing. I mean, there was not a scene of this, but that was the thing that we were pushing, and that was kind of the sound that I was going for. And at some point, my night and the night I shared with a friend, with a colleague, it became kind of the most successful night in town. And it was a little bit of mixing all this kind of futuristic sound, but not without not caring about the year, because, for example, I feel that a lot of more other music is way more futuristic than music which is being produced as we speak.
Of course.
And so this blend of nice futuristic music from the 70s with the latest back in the day, like the latest I don't know, Roman Flugel track or whatever. It was always like, it was a very nice combination. I mean, we made it somehow work, and and people were really receptive, even if they were, I don't know, there was not such a big culture back in the day. People were not aware, because this was a little bit before all this social media explosion. So people were really aware about names or producers or stuff. So they just listened to stuff without knowing who was playing or who was the producer of the track, but they just enjoyed it,
Yeah, I mean, I think this time that you're talking about, especially with those labels like Newphonic or with DFA, I mean, to me it was very like open. The music scene, it kind of somehow has been lost, I think, in a way, where everything's become.
Totally.
I mean, I was going to New York a lot in the early 2000s, and Joel and I released our first Quiet Village records on Whatever We Want, which was the home of Thomas and Eric and also DJ Harvey. And I think at that point it was really it was a really magic sort of golden era for being very open-minded.
Totally.
Looking forward and looking backwards,
Yeah, totally. Sometimes, actually, this weekend I was just talking to some friends, and I was kind of realizing that, back in the day, especially with this, also in the position as a resident, when I could play every week for 6 hours in a row, which hasn't happened, I don't know in how long. You could go really wild on the style, and you could really create crazy moments and just like handbrake and go left and then go right with the music style. And now with this thing of 2 hour slots in clubs and 1 hour and a half slots in festivals, that's a little bit lost, I think. And so of course it's a different approach, and this is nowadays is more okay, let's have a nice show and let's have fun, I think. And when back in the day it was more like, okay, let's have a journey all together and let's get lost. And that was sorry,
I was going to say, being into disco and knowing your music, the music that you made, were you into the trippier, those super long extended versions where the musicians would go off into really weird tangents? And even maybe around the same era, you had the whole krautrock thing, which I think was also maybe influenced a bit from disco in that it was danceable, but it was quite hypnotic in terms of the way they used repetition. And that kind of brings me to, in prepping for this, I re-listened to your first album, which
thank you.
Still sounds unbelievable today, called Super Vato. Which came out in 2011. I remember when I first heard it, I was blown away.
Oh, wow, thank you.
But it seems like you had a good grasp back then of how to use repetition to create a sort of hypnotism in the
thing. Yeah. I was always into repetitiveness and very simple elements and stuff. And actually, krautrock was always a reference for myself. And this kind of hypnotic things. Actually, one of my biggest moments in music, I would say, was actually at Schizo, and you guys were playing, and there was this amazing remix from, what was the name of this guy, of John Creamer, of this track.
He was amazing. Creamer and Kay back in the day.
And you remember Addicted to Bass? Do you remember this remix?
I think so, yeah.
There was this moment which was like basically nothing going on, and just this voice saying rhythm, rhythm's running over me, and this thing went for ages and ages and ages. And I remember being in a very special state in the middle of the dance floor, like not like totally lost in time and space. I had no clue where I was, and I was just like lost in this phrase going on and on and on and on. And that was one of the most influential moments on me, to be honest. That was one of the moments that I say, wow, like I want to do this, those were, those moments that like it's turning a page in a book. And
that was at Schizo, the club.
Schizo, and it was deep.
We have an audience question if the club is still open or if
no, sadly not.
Proof Creator was asking.
Sadly, this place closed. Every now and then, I mean, the place is still there, and every now and then they throw a party, like, but sadly, they just invite like somebody from the old era, or just like a random local. I mean, I don't want to say random as an insult, but just like they haven't done a special thing anymore. Sometimes I wish we could like say, okay, why don't we throw like get all the gang together, because like was like a very specific crowd that was going there, all familiar faces. But it was really a cool moment back in the day, 20 years ago. And but yeah, sadly it's not open anymore. Every couple of months they throw an event, or once a year they throw a little event, but sadly it's definitely not what it was.
Are there any DJs from that club that are like the legendary DJs that are still around, or
no,
like was it how
not? They didn't have proper
residents.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, I mean, it was always a little bit of a dubious place, which was also part of the charm.
Dubious is putting it mildly.
Like Tonio would secretly record all the guests' sets, and then would give the residents the sets, and they would chop stuff, and then they would play them. And so I mean, they knew how to make it work, but they were not residents with their own sound, or with their own aesthetics or whatever. So actually, sadly, there was never like a resident from this club, especially that transcended in a major way. There would also be some like pretty good Mexican DJs back in the day that were not based in Monterrey, but they were kind of the classic guys that they would invite when somebody big would come, or the guys that would have their own nights every now and then. But I don't know if they would count really as residents. But
yes, because it's like I don't know much about the Mexico scene, but you don't really hear about many Mexican DJs, considering how big the country is. Like there's no. Usually, every country has like their export or that scene that from back in the day, and
yeah,
so
definitely.
I don't hear much about Mexico very often.
There were some back in the day. There was a guy who was really good, who was like traditionally opening to the bigger international acts. His name was Martin Parra. He was really good. I actually many times it happened that I went to see like a big act, and I would prefer his opening set than the main act. Happened many times. And but yeah, I mean, there's definitely really interesting people from back in the day, and lately there's some other really interesting new acts coming up and stuff. So I mean, we're definitely not a super, I don't know how you call this, but like a mecca of producers or DJs, but we have some, we have some interesting people around.
How was your album received, and like from the music press, and how do you feel about the genre new disco? Did you feel like you were at the forefront of ushering in this new sound that was a bit darker than traditional disco, a bit trippier, a bit hypnotic, it had a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a psytrance hippie kind of
Yeah, totally.
vibe to it.
And a lot of people have tried to nail the name of my style, and it's, I mean, I have no clue what my style is, but some people have tried to name it some ways. For example, Matias Aguayo called it caveman disco. Then
Matias is from where exactly?
it's from Chile.
Chile. Yeah. I have to say, you mentioned, yeah, he played
Pavement disco.
Caveman disco, yeah.
Matias Aguayo. You know, every once in a while, I have a fuck you moment where I feel like I'm witnessing something in dance music for the very first time.
Huh?
Having been in the industry for 30 years, like I feel like, oh, yeah, I've pretty much seen it all, and everything is a rehash of what's come before. But I remember being with Seth Troxler, and we were all of our friends had left. This is at Episode Festival in Vietnam, and there was an Arma 17 after party at this really cool new space.
Cool.
A few years ago, and Matias Aguayo was playing, and Seth's like, "Oh, you got to hear him." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll stay." And I'm pretty sure he did a live show where he was also using some sort of a percussion pad, and he had a microphone. Yeah. And he was the way he was dressed. It was really funny too. Really short shorts and this curly hair, and I'm like, "What's this guy gonna do?" And we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then he was just waiting for it to fill up more to go on. So the anticipation was building. And then he went on, and I swear to God, me and Seth, we were on the dance floor with our jaws to the floor.
Oh, he's a proper showman, yeah.
You know, just grinning from ear to ear, looking at each other like, what is happening? You know, like, and he was singing or like speaking, you know, and there were these Latin rhythms that were, you know, like 4/4, but not really. Yeah. And he was weaving all these different, you know, styles together perfectly and just executing it perfectly. And we were like, what is happening? What is this music?
Yeah. He has this effect. Yeah, he's really creative. He's a proper showman. He's really good on stage.
Yeah.
And he has a really good touch of how to handle people and how to handle situations. Yeah, he's really good at what he does. So yeah, he was, yeah, I mean, he was kind of an important part in my especially at the beginning of my producing career. So yeah.
So were the press tagging you as new disco, or what was happening? Like,
some people tagged me like this, but when you compare to other music tagged the same way, it was not really like that. So I was telling you, some people have called my style different names. Like him, he would call it caveman disco. Some people call it Tarantino techno. Axel Bowman told me it was cowboy trance, which, and actually somehow they all fit, you know, all these names kind of fit. And,
actually, sorry, really quick, my really good friend Nicole, and she's also my agent. She's married to Axel Bowman, and
yes,
yeah. So she had said hello. So I don't know if she's watching or not, but just wanted to throw that in. Sorry.
I love her. She's so cool.
Yeah.
So being you were talking about, you know, your background in industrial design and really being into design. I think I took you to MN Roy in Mexico City once, right? We were both there at the same time playing, I think, different parties. And
I remember when we were there together, but
yeah, were we playing the same party or different parties? Like and I was there the night, we were both there the night before. I came to your hotel, picked you up.
Wasn't it an Ultra festival or something like that?
I think it might have been Ultra, yeah.
Something,
And so, Rebel, you were one of the partners in MN Roy.
Yeah, as a small partner. It's more like a symbolic thing. At some point, me and Axel performed there like several times as Pachanga Boys, and Axel / Super Pitcher, and at some point we became kind of like very close to the owners. I mean, they're really dear friends of ours. And once we did a 25-hour party there, like we played a 25-hour set and we broadcasted it, and after that they were like, okay, you are basically part of this. Would you like to be partners? So we got a tiny piece of it, and we got more involved. And yeah, I love this place. It's I like that it's tiny. It's a little bit controversial because of its door policy. And actually, before I actually stepped in that place for the first time, I knew about the door policy, and I was always like, come on, it's not cool that they don't let people in.
Can you describe the door policy and maybe the club a little bit for the people that don't know?
The place is kind of tiny, like a beautiful design. Everything is wood, and it's very dark, and it fits only like 200 people. So when I heard about it, and I heard that the door policy, it's basically only people they know they go in. So I was like, hey, come on, it's really not cool that if somebody wants to see you play, it's kind of shitty that they can't just because a place is kind of poshy and they don't let you in. But then I could only shut my mouth when I played there for the first time and realized that all these 200 people that fit in know each other, and it's, of course, it's a little bit poshy, but it's not lame, you know. Everybody's
it's not like cheesy pushy. It's like,
exactly,
because I remember reading about it. I used to subscribe to Wallpaper magazine, and they did like a spread on the wallpaper. And when I looked at the photos, I was completely blown away because I was going to Mexico City to play a lot. And I'm like, I got to go check this place out. Look at the photos. And for anybody that's interested, just Google MN Roy in Mexico City, and you'll see the photos.
Definitely.
So I think it was winning design awards or whatever. And
at some point it was called one of the best clubs in the world because of the design and the music selection. And some list, I don't remember which. And so yeah, even if, I mean, a lot of the people there were like, I don't know, kind of from the creative world. So everybody was kind of a very stylish place. Everybody dressing up nice, like in a cool way, quite interesting. And then, as you say, not lame posh. Everybody, I said that I had to shut my mouth because they were actually reacting to music, and they would know, you can tell when people know your tracks and stuff. So it was actually a really good crowd, a really good audience. So I was like, okay, fair enough. Everybody knows each other. Everybody's friends in here. Why should they let other people in if they actually don't physically fit? So that's when I kind of understood the concept, and I really enjoyed it. And then it became one of my favorite places to play. You know, for in small in a small format, and it's so different and from all the other places in Mexico City that I actually Mexico City is so big that I could play in M and Roy one day, and then maybe a month after or 2 months after, play a completely different venue with a completely different crowd and a completely different situation in the same city. You know, it was that's what also made it a little bit interesting. Was always it's kind of a completely apart from the rest of the scene. So yeah.
In 2015, Forbes magazine listed you as one of the Mexican creatives that has the most global influence.
Yeah,
I'm guessing because I'm a huge fan of, you know, the Three Amigos, or the three film directors, Cuarón, Iñárritu, and Guillermo del Toro, and the work that they've done over the years. So obviously they've been creatives who've really put Mexican filmmaking and that sort of creativity on the global map. Did you cross paths with them at any point in your career? Was there any talk of a collaboration, scoring?
Oh, I would have loved, but no, they are such in. I mean, they're such in another level. You know, like they're actually Hollywood, so that's all. That's a little bit too far from my reality. But I would love, to be honest. But yeah, it was totally unexpected, this little thing, and it was such an honor because there was so many people that I respect in that list, from architects, chefs like Enrique Olvera, that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And
Enrique was the last time I went to Santanera. It was reopening, and Enrique, after dinner at Del Mar, I think it was the name of his restaurant in Playa del Carmen.
Maybe.
Mar del Mar. No,
I
no.
don't remember. It was.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, you know, just before we left, because he wanted to take us there, I was with Richie Hott and a few other people. He brought out his mezcal cart. There was like, I don't know, 35 different mezcals.
Nice.
And we spent like an hour and a half just sampling different mezcals, and we were twisted and walked to Santanera and stayed there for hours. Lost one of the people that we were with, and he ended up getting on a bus to Cancun. He kind of stumbled off a bus in Cancun, wondered where the hell he was. The power of mezcal.
Totally, yeah. I only have like 9 here.
Why did we call the show DJs and Mezcal tonight?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what is your preferred drink?
Oof, that's a difficult one.
Turn around and find one.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment,
Like, what do you reach for when you're in that space?
uh,
What do you reach for?
sometimes I do mezcal negronis. That's one of my things, and also in my wood oven that I showed you a couple of times.
Yeah.
I every now and then I smoke oranges and lemons, so I use them for the cocktails. So I really like to do my mezcal negroni and put a slice of dry orange in there and to give it a
Wow.
smooth thing. So for me, it feels like I did a little extra work on it. So yeah.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you feel like during this chat, making a mezcal negroni and having us watch you do it, feel free.
Shit,
On the spot.
I don't know if I have the right material, but I could.
You could. Yeah, no rush. At some point when you reach for the right, you know,
And in the meantime, you've already mentioned that. Maybe I'm going too far ahead already, but I'm really curious about that. You're 50% of the Pachanga boys,
Yes.
together with super pitcher Axel, sorry, and you said you met the compact people in Playa del Carmen for the first time. How did that connection come about from the Cologne compact people to the Mexican side of things, and then getting together into a duo? Which makes. How would you describe this style of music?
Oh my God, that's more difficult to describe than my own.
I mean, good music. Just as this two genres, like bad music and good music,
Yeah,
and maybe all the stuff in between.
You had one. You had one track called "Legs." I actually did a bootleg of that.
I was about to tell you, I love your edit so much.
You know that one?
Yeah, because you sent it to Axel, and I was like, wow, this is something.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. He shared it with me. He told me that you both were with Nick, this guy in England in a party, and he played it, and you asked him, and something like this, no? And,
Actually, I'm going to see Nick tomorrow.
say hi to him, please.
I will do that.
So yeah, and then Axel told me, "Can you believe Chris really loved the legs?" I was like, "Wow, cool!" And then a little bit later, he sent me the edit you did. I think it's genius. Every now and then when I was playing like bigger spaces, I was playing it, and super loved it. Super loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
The only thing I did was put a bass drum underneath it. That's all I can do.
No, but it had like little extended thing and a little kind of surprising elements. I really loved it. You know, like,
That's really nice to hear. Yeah, nice.
really,
So how did this come about?
really an accident. He was
Axel and you, how did you connect then?
Yeah, it was really an accident actually. He came in, what was it, 2005, I think. He came to Playa del Carmen, and I was always kind of not only DJing together with the people, but I was also kind of hosting them, because there was always this kind of connection. So I had already met Tobias Thomas from the Compact crew, and he was coming that year, and then I knew Michael and Axel, they were coming as well. So I was kind of yeah, with them and hosting them a little bit, and we kind of clicked really quick. We became friends quite fast, and he was flying in from New York, where the winter was kind of super hard, and he had no summer clothes, or like no light clothes in Playa del Carmen when he arrived. So, and we had this joke like, okay, you're gonna be the white guy walking in the beach wearing speedo and boots, and then we and we laughed about it, and we said, okay, one day we should do a song about that. And then years passed, the friendship continued. Then I started to visit Cologne, and he offered me to stay at his place. You can stay at mine, blah, blah. And at some point, this is around 2010, I think. He was producing his album Kilimanjaro, second Super Picture album, and one of I was at his place, and he had left, I don't know what for, and I was in the shower singing like "Ooh, ba-doo, doo-doo." Then I didn't realize, but he arrived, and I was singing out loud in the shower. So when I came out from the shower, he's like, "Hey, I'm quite impressed. I want to bring you to the studio, and I need some help for some tracks. I would like you to sing." And I was like, "Okay." And so I was doing some vocals for his track for that year's Compact Total, which was Total 10 or 9 or something like this. And then he asked me like, "Hey, can you help me to finish my Kilimanjaro album?" Like and I was super flattered because it was really early on my producing days, but he just wanted like some like input and like some ideas and stuff. And so we spent a lot of time in the studio together helping him with his album. And then at some point he was trying a new instrument in a little break we had. He was playing this kind of tropical melody, and just I first track, which was almost a joke, and the track, the lyrics included the word pachanga, and so then we showed it to Michael, like, look, we did this in the studio, just having fun, and he was like, okay, let's include it in the next Compact Total. Who are you guys? What's your name? And we said, okay, we're the Pachanga Boys. And basically, it was really like this. It was really an accident and a little joke. And
what does pachanga mean?
Pachanga in Mexico, it's like a crazy, cool, sweaty, intense party. Yeah, something like this. It's also
That's great.
yeah, it's in some places in Latin America they call it like a rhythm, like similar to salsa or something like this. But in Mexico it's like more like a sweaty party, like
That's a great name.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
yeah, it's almost like a guilty pleasure. Sometimes I say like, oh my god, it's so cheesy, but it's fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know if some of my greatest goosebump moments musically DJing anywhere has been playing at some point throughout the night, during a really long set or at sunrise or something, playing the Pachanga Boys Time.
Oh wow, you have played that?
Yeah,
Wow,
many times, and it's one of those records. It's a really special record, I think, to a lot of DJs and just lovers of music, because it's so musical and it's so hypnotic.
Thank you
And
so much.
it's an instant. It creates an instant atmosphere the minute the melodies start looping, and you're just getting more and more sucked in.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
What was, do you recall making that? Did you feel that you were making such a special record at the time, or?
Definitely not. It was completely. We were just super happy with what was happening. It was. Axel showed me some stuff, some elements he had already in mind, And then we developed a little bit of the whole story, and then I came up with the words, like a very simple message it has, and it kind of fitted the music, this lost track of time phrase, and when we finished it, we thought, okay, it's borderline cheesy, but it fits, and it's kind of lovely, and it's sweet, and I recorded it's my little niece who's saying lost track of time. She was like 8 years old back in the day.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was super sweet. And she was tiny back in the day, like she's really short, so she was really like a tiny girl. I have a photo of her with her big Sony headphones with a little notebook which only says lost track of time, like reading the lyrics, which is so funny. And so yeah, it became kind of a lovely thing we did, but we never actually expected it would go so far and so big. And for
Who is
example,
that?
WhatsApp notification.
Who is this here?
I don't know. Maybe it's me. Fuck, sorry. I'm gonna turn.
It happens.
I
It's
didn't realize I had this on. So sorry.
it's live.
Usually we have to drink a shot each time you hear that sound.
Oh. Okay, where are we? So yeah, so time. Yes, I was. We definitely didn't expect that, and
Was it
actually,
a slow burn? Did it take a long time for that track to resonate with people around the world, or was it instantaneous?
it was kind of a half a year thing. Actually, it wasn't supposed to be like that because it was it, when we created our little label, Hippie Dance, we we wanted to be vinyl only. We wanted to be like really underground. So we stick to our idea of 300 copies of each record at the beginning, and we were not supposed to go digital. And it was released like on December something of 2011, like the worst date you could release a track, but we anyway released it because we didn't want to delay it anymore. And then like a couple of weeks later, we realized that they released it digitally, and we were super pissed because we didn't want that. And we told them like, hey, what's up? Well, what was that? They apologized at Compact, like, oh, it was a mistake. But then it just spread like, and then the next summer it became kind of a Burning Man anthem in 2012. And so yeah, it was like going super big. And kind of a funny thing where on the other side, on the A side actually, comes this other extremely weird track which is called Black Naga, which is just like a bass drum and just like some gibberish talking. And when we showed this the two tracks that we showed the record, because we showed the material we had, we showed it to the Compact guys in order to approve the project of creating the label, because we were in partnership with them. Hippie Dance is half owned by Compact, so we had to show them what we had in mind. And when Wolfgang Vogt listened to the tracks, he was like, wow, this Black Naga is gonna be a super hit. This time thing is okay for some mellow people, but Black Naga is gonna be a major hit, because it's basically just like a straight bass drum and some like super hypnotic stuff without any meaning. And it was ended up being totally the opposite thing. Yeah, the other way around. But yeah, so yeah, no clue that this was gonna be like that.
When was your first Burning Man experience, and how did you connect with the Mayan warrior?
It was the year after that. 2012 was the first year of the Warrior in Burning Man. It was a smaller version, like a smaller truck, and already many friends were going to Burning Man at that point, and they were trying to convince us, as Axel and I, to go there. And so for 2013, 2013, they were like, hey, you should come, you should come, you should come. And we were like, no, 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 that's a bit too strange. It's a little bit too hippie for us. It's a little bit, I don't know. We were
That's
really...
the guy who has a label called Hippie Dance.
Exactly. Yeah. So we was like, oh, no. We were a little bit scared of running into too many blonde dreadlocks and these kind of things, and too many fire juggling and this kind of, we were like, no, please, no. But anyway, our friends really insisted, and basically they dragged us there. And this image I had of this place actually totally changed, because I found that I really realized how special it is. And so I got really hooked on it. And on 2013, the Mayan Warrior became the bigger truck it is now, but it had no real musical direction. And so there was some guests, some friends playing one day, some friends playing on another. Then a guy who's a friend of the owner and the creator of the Mayan Warrior, he was super into psytrance, so he somehow made a psytrance night, one of the nights, which was kind of not fitting, you know. So I was like, oh my god, this is a really, really nice piece, and I think it could have way more potential. So next time I saw Pablo, the owner, I had a talk with him, like, hey, you know what? I think we could do something, and if you let me, I think we could take the Mayan Warrior to the next level by I don't know, making a more interesting lineup, you know, which fits the machine, you know, a little bit more futuristic, more sophisticated. The machine itself, it's so impressive that I think it needs its own theme. So instead of, when we're moving, instead of having somebody play random music, we should always play the same theme so people know we're coming. And he really loved this idea. So I made a track for the Warrior, which I actually included in my second album, and it's like this call to war, you know, like this drummy thing, extremely repetitive, like, and he really loved this idea. So for 2014, a friend of mine, Damian Romero, who runs Mutec Mexico, him and I took over the curating of the lineup, and we had this theme which became kind of a part of the whole Mayan Warrior experience. And since then, since 2013, I never missed a desert.
Never missed a burn.
Exactly. until this year. Right now, it would be already packing.
Did when you first went to Burning Man and you experienced, I mean, none of you guys have been there, right? Chris, we talked about going. David, you have, okay. I went once.
I wanted to go. I really wanted to go next year. It's a special birthday. I just hope it's on.
Yeah,
I come along, Matt.
Good. Yeah, you have to.
You should really. It's really something.
DJs and Beers from Burning Man.
Rebo, did you feel like Burning Man, you know, all the art and just the whole aesthetic and the experience, whatever, did you feel like that was a visual representation of like the music that you'd been making all these years? Like, did these two worlds collide? Your music, your sound, your approach to creating a certain sonic atmosphere and design and all, and then marrying that with the Burning Man experience. Did it feel like a coming together, or did it feel like something else?
In a way, yes, to be honest. It was it kind of was a perfect fit. This psychedelic approach, this psychedelic / futuristic approach kind of was the perfect fit for me. And then basically every year it's the place where I test new tracks. Many times I have tried tracks there which have not been released, and then that's the place where I realize if they work as I want or not, because the whole space, the aesthetics, it's, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of difficult to describe, but yeah, this kind of super modern sci-fi scenario, together with this crazy beautiful landscape and this breathtaking sunrises, it's like a super combination which really fits my thing. It's like a sci-fi western in a way, so it's so good. I mean, for me, you know, I know it's not for everybody, but for me it's really my kind of thing. And this, together with spending a full week with people I love and the people that I laugh the most, it's kind of perfect. It's really rare that I see friends for so long in you know, so many friends for so long in one space, that this is basically always my real vacation week in the year.
Wow.
So I'm not super familiar with your music, but do you have a lot of, or do you like Mexican music, or do you have any Mexican music influences in your music?
I don't know if I have
so much.
Mexican influences, to be honest. I mean, the Mexican music I like is more like more folky, you know. And
what about your Mexican heritage? What about like being Mexican, living in Mexico? Has that, do you feel like that has informed who you are and what you stand for musically, or do your influences, are they more global?
This is hard for me to say, actually, because even if I, of course, love my country so much and I'm so proud of being Mexican, I'm not too much of a, I don't know how to call it, I'm not so much of a nationalist, you know.
More global citizen.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I take references from so many things, from movies, from moments, from road trips. Sometimes music is, I mean, music itself, it's a very little part of my world of influences, you know. Like I don't know, architecture can be an influence, the open road can be an influence, you know, movies and stuff. So my thing, it's made out of a mix of the very different things. So yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, for sure Mexico itself has been important in my aesthetics, but I don't know how obvious it is, to be honest. I
wanted
don't know.
to ask, I mean, you mentioned like Mutec, Mexico. I mean, you must be talking to or in contact with all your friends and colleagues in Mexico. Like, what's going on with the scene at the moment? And
yeah, I mean, everybody's a little bit, yeah, like nobody has words to describe this thing. Everybody's trying to be creative in different ways. With a group of people, we just did like a special show which was produced for example, in a warehouse in Mexico City. A visual artist did like a big installation, and they invited some of the most representative Mexican acts to play there, and it was all recorded in like super high quality video. And so we created this show, which is supposed to be enjoyed on the screen way more than in than with an audience. So, you know, these kind of things, this thing is going to be broadcasted this Saturday, actually. And so people are starting to try to be creative, just to somehow get the industry going in some kind of way, even if it's with not real audiences. So yeah, little happenings here or there. And my friend from Mutec, he's working on virtual edition of his festival, and so yeah, basically that, and smaller events and this
I
kind
guess
of.
I guess for also for like outdoor parties or even like Tulum or Playa del Carmen, I guess there's no tourism, right? There's no.
Little by, they just told me that, I mean, the whole summer was really bad, but they just told me that Tulum is actually getting a little bit more busy, but with no party. You know, it's more like people just running away from their places and just going there to relax.
Yeah.
So
There's no parties allowed right now in Mexico, right?
No. There have been some in Tulum, like completely supposedly off the grid, but yeah, they're not supposed to be allowed. And then little by little, they have been opening some terraces in Mexico City, and but yeah, the whole thing is still shut down.
And how is the situation down there with like, what do you, it's like, you know, the US people are really split with like either not wearing a mask and wearing a mask, and how is it in Mexico?
In Mexico, I don't know. It was right now, people are kind of getting the message that they should really take care of themselves and take care of the people on their side. But it took quite long. That's why, I mean, in Mexico, it started very, very slow. It was really like this. The shutdown started in mid-March, like in everywhere else. But our curve was really just like this. But people didn't take it seriously enough. And then suddenly, shoop, it spiked like crazy. And then people realized that they had to do it, because I don't know, more simple communities and some markets and stuff, they were just really not caring. Many people thought like, okay, this is just a scam, this is just like this is not true, so it was kind of sad to see it that way. But right now I think it's the message is getting properly spread, and more people are really taking care, and more safety precautions are really taken right now. So it's not so bad right now. It's getting better, and I think the curve finally it's starting to go the other way.
Are things still pretty locked down over there, or is it a kind of like lax, like restaurants and stuff like that?
It just started to relax in certain cities. When I went to record this thing in Mexico City a couple of weeks ago, the restaurants were already open, like the open spaces of the restaurants at half capacity, something like this. The hotel where I was staying had allowed only 30% capacity. And I know that some terraces around were working also at 30% capacity, but at least something's happening. For example, in Monterrey, where we have a restaurant and this club, we're still closed. There's nothing, absolutely nothing happening. So yeah, it's really a blow to our scene and to the economy, of course.
And when
have you played any gigs?
Oops,
or have you played any gigs? Have you planned any gigs?
And not really. In October, I'm supposed to play a show actually in Tulum with DJ Tennis and Perel. It's like a life and death thing. It's supposed to still happen because the booking actually happened during the pandemic. I don't know how big it's gonna be, but I know that it's gonna be open space, open air. And then a couple of weeks ago, I did a tiny private thing, which was also an open space, and they had like a DJ booth was completely apart from the people. Like it was like very safe in a way, and everybody who was going in was tested. So it was supposed to be a very safe environment. So I did that one because they assured me it was a safe thing, and I did this other thing, this virtual thing, but with this production, but with an audience. That was it. This one private thing for like, I don't know, 100 people or something like that.
But the production is a stream which is going to be broadcasted this Saturday, you say?
This one, yes.
Yeah. And did you do any other streams? Are you doing streams from your situation room, for example, or?
Yeah, I did one for there's this festival called the Tropico, which happens in Acapulco every year. I did one for them in late March. I did I did one which hasn't been broadcasted for this guy in from Philly, Dave P. He's putting together an online festival, and so I'm part of that line of that festival, but it hasn't been broadcasted. I did one for charity for Mayan Warrior. The Mayan Warrior Foundation was manufacturing face masks and face shields for the frontline workers in Mexico. So we did an online fundraiser, we actually recorded my set in Roy. There was some little production in Roy to record the guys from Mexico, and what else? That's it. And then also I recorded just the audio for the virtual Burning Man, which is happening next week. There's gonna be this virtual world that you can log in and dive in with with like VR goggles and stuff, and there's gonna be like a VR Mayan warrior around there, and then we're gonna have like a full lineup, like if it was the desert. So yeah, I did another one for that. To be honest, I ended up doing way more than I wanted. I thought I was not gonna do much, but yeah, all these were like dear friends asking and stuff, and somehow it was my way to to try to keep the wheels going.
The hot button topic of today seems to be DJs playing events during this pandemic.
Yeah.
Legal events. I mean, there's a lot of illegal parties that are happening as a result of everything being shut down, and there's seems to be two sides to the argument. Like, people who believe that DJs should exhibit some sort of a collective responsibility to our industry by refusing to play right now and standing in solidarity with one another who feel the same way, and other people who believe that we can't just shut our industry down. That if an event is allowed to happen legally and there are social there's safety protocols in place, then why not? And you had the recent example of the Patrick Topping gig in Newcastle, which had like 2,500 people, and everybody was checked coming in, and you could order your drinks, I think, by an app or online or something like that. There was no queue at to enter the venue. People are trying to come up with more unique ways to put on a legally sanctioned event. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you feel about playing, if you can, in Mexico legally, and making sure in advance that there are social distancing and safety protocols in place?
Yeah, totally. I think it's important to be prudent and to keep it as safe as possible. And so yeah, for example, since a month already, because of my we have a lot of Russian friends because of my wife. It's more than a month that basically every weekend we see our friends having a blast every weekend on parties. And to be honest, it's a little bit disturbing to see all these people.
Your friends they're having parties in Moscow or here?
Yeah, in Moscow.
Sorry, in Mexico.
Yeah, no, in Moscow. So they already started like for a month and a half, and every weekend they're and like super crowded, and everybody's hugging and kissing, and I was like, oh my god! I mean, that really looks like next level wrong. But I think if it's done consciously and in a proper way with the proper safety measures, I think it's basically healthy to do it, because come on, more than half a year of lockdown and not being able to to bond with some people and to have a dance, which is something so needed and so natural. I think it's possible to make a like a responsible event like the one you're mentioning. And for example, this one show that I said yes to, this it was private, but anyway, I mean there was not too many people, but it was okay for the space. Everybody was tested. I don't know if these tests work or not, but everybody there was tested, and so at least you see that there's some responsibility going on. And so yeah, it's really it's a very tricky topic because
Also, you wear many hats. You're not just a DJ and producer. You're also a restaurant owner and
yeah,
a partner in a club. So there's obviously the whole ecosystem
yeah, it's so
of
difficult.
hospitality, restaurants, nightclubs. There's all the people that work there behind the scenes to make an event,
Yeah,
happen successfully.
definitely.
And
For
these
us,
people are all affected by what's happening.
yeah, for us, one of the hardest things to do was to basically let all our staff go. Like this is a crazy decision you have to make at some point. When we saw this had no any, there was no real horizon on this thing. So we had to let people go. Is one of I don't know. It was really horrible in our places in Monterrey. So when you say, okay, if we would be able to restart, it's not only about having fun. It's a little bit reactivating everybody's economy somehow, because yeah, it's I don't know, it's been rough. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were allowed legally to reopen your restaurant, your club, you'd obviously do it because it would help all of the people that are employed by you.
Definitely, of course,
To
we
be able
would
to
go
get back to work.
with every guideline. Actually, we had there was at some point in Monterrey where they said, okay, it's possible, it's gonna be possible to open certain restaurants and stuff. So we actually opened the terrace of our club. We did like in the parking lot. We did like super distanced tables, and we had like a food truck there to make it, more like a picnic than a club actually. And we had some nice, some cool music, a DJ booth outside and stuff. And we were opening just like in early hours and stuff. And we were able to do it only once. And after that, they decided to close everything again in the city because it was spiking again. So that was the only chance we had to have a little test of what could be. But we were really doing it everything by the book, everything with distance, every staff member with masks, not more than 4 or 6 people, if I remember well, in each table. So I think if it's done responsibly, I think we should little by little go back to to business, and yeah, to let people have some fun and to interact with other people. I think
Yeah.
it's healthy,
Yeah.
Do you know if there's like any like illegal parties happening out around you or out there, or illegal raves or?
There was one in Guadalajara, for example. The people from Bar Americas and some other partners threw a big party, and actually everybody in the social media, they were like attacking him quite hard because they actually did it exactly in one of the weekends when Guadalajara was spiking in the numbers. So they were like, oh, come on, this is super reckless, la la la. It didn't, it kind of backfired. And there were some videos, I didn't watch them, but they told me you could see like nobody wearing masks and stuff. So yeah, that's the thing. I think if it's done, I think it's better to have something legal but regulated than to push the people to end up doing illegal stuff, which of course nobody cares. If there's no actual rule, if you're already out of the law, it's very difficult to ask people to follow certain rules, I think. So yeah, I I think
You
it's
guys, did you guys see the article in Mixmag about in France where they lifted social distancing restrictions or protocols for indoor events under 5,000 people. What do you think is behind that decision?
But they've done that, Ali. But then they've also enforced in Paris that you have to wear a mask in the streets, and this is happening in a lot of cities in France. So it's kind of like, I don't know really what's going on.
Messaging, like what mixed
Wait, so
messaging?
you can have an event with less than 5,000 people, but you have to wear a mask in the streets?
Yeah, at the moment in Paris, because it's spiking. I mean, it's spiking across Europe and in most cities. So it's enforced that you have to wear a mask. I mean, so I'm not sure whether this news, I read it in the BBC as well today, whether any of these things will continue. I know that Martin, who works with Aurelia, Chris and I, our agent, all the shows that they had penciled confirmed for last week, some of the shows in Paris, they're all cancelled. So I don't know if it's maybe for different kinds of concerts or for events or for corporate events, but I don't think it's going to be for our world, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I just remembered I also did one of these kind of auto cinema shows. I was asked a couple of months ago, and my agent here in Mexico was like telling me, okay, this is basically some guys are experimenting with this format. They're gonna be doing concerts and stuff, and they want to try one electronic thing, and so they invited me, and I was like, okay. I mean, it went totally with the rules, at least on paper, and so I decided to say yes and to see this little experiment, and it was a bit weird. Actually, we had the bad luck that it was raining, so that also didn't make it as smooth as it could have been. But as a format and as an experiment, I think it kind of worked. But of course, it's a little bit too weird and a little bit too distant from the people. And but
this is where people are in their cars, right?
Yeah, but they had like a little cage on the side of their car, so they could actually come down from their car, and the same people that were
like a little space.
Yeah, you're like in a little cage on the side of your car, and people were not supposed to mix between cages, you know. So you had your tiny space to
cages.
And yeah,
keep the zombies in the cages. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
but that's the thing we were talking about before. It's like there's the where was that one concert where they had that same idea, but like not inside of cars? I forgot what city.
Newcastle.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
But I mean, at what point where people are going to be drinking and doing other stuff, where they're gonna stop caring about the cages? That wall is going to disappear, and
maybe they had security. I think whenever you left the that riser, whatever that area that you had to wear a mask. That's what I read.
Yeah.
So if you were in the common areas,
that's my point. Is like you get so wasted where you're not going to care.
Yeah.
Like these people. I mean,
no, you're going to be locked in that cage.
You're
locked in that cage. You're not going to get out.
Yeah, if it was locked in, then yeah. But that's the thing. It's like people will get messed up, and they're just gonna not care, and they're gonna wander out and start walking around and want to talk to people and interact with people. It's like that's why it's so. I think it's hard to control so many people in an event. You know.
I think also there's that whole thing as well with actually wearing a mask and having to wear a mask when there's loud music being played. If you want to talk to people. I know my friends, they went to Elsa last weekend when Ellen was playing, and you have to wear a mask all times. Yeah. So like, even apart from when you want to have a sip of a drink. So, and my friend Monty said it's impossible to talk to anyone.
Yeah. It's like you have music blaring and then you're talking to someone like this at the same time. They were like, what?
Yeah.
It seems like that's a small price to pay, or that's a little adjustment, necessary adjustment, uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't like talking in the club anyways.
We know that.
Yeah, you never talk. Just nod your head.
You just smile and just do this.
Yeah.
And then that's when someone asks you for a remix, and you're like, you say,
Rebel, like you and I and Tiga, we were in Brazil together, and we had dinner at the end of February.
That was one of the last things. Yeah, that was one of the glimpse
I went
of
on
it.
to go to LA after that, and my last show was March 7th. When was your last show?
My last
Like
show,
official show pre-COVID
yeah,
lockdown.
was March 6th. Actually, I was in Moscow. I had one of my, I have this little party series called Rated R, in which I invite guests, and I had one at Mutabor in Moscow, and with some guests. And I was staying one more week, and I was supposed to play Panorama the next weekend on Sunday, 15 or 14 or something like this. And on Wednesday, Panorama announced that they were closing. And so after that, I had to, and then they said about all this that Berlin was being locked down, la la la. So I had to reroute all my flights to go back to Mexico. And yeah, it was kind of shocking. It was these extra days we spent in Moscow under this with this news and stuff, this situation. It was so stressful. Um, I hadn't realized how serious the thing was at that point. So I when I was trying to reschedule my way back, my wife said, "Okay, instead of, I mean, our flight back to Mexico was from Amsterdam, so we had to fly to Amsterdam." And she was like, "Okay, let's just stay an extra night in Amsterdam because we love Amsterdam so much." I was like, "Okay, that sounds like a good idea. We can go to our favorite restaurant and stuff, and let's make the best out of the situation." And it was so bad. We arrived. I called one of these restaurants I love. "Hey, are you open?" "No, no, no. Today we're closed." "Okay." And I know this super nice, simple chicken place, which was really near where I used to live together with Manfredi with tennis in our neighborhood. Let's go to that one because that's
What's it called? Which one's that? The rotisserie?
It's not really a rotisserie. They do it like with charcoal. Maybe you're talking about Reisel.
Maybe.
Reisel is a really beautiful rotisserie just across the street from where Trau used to be.
Right.
But this one is like a little bit more relaxed one. It's just about beer and gin tonics and chicken. The menu is full chicken, half a chicken, and then some sides, and that's it. So I called them. They said, "Yeah, we're open." And then when we leave the hotel to go there, the guy tells us like, just half an hour ago, they just said that every restaurant should close at 6, and we arrived to the chicken place 6:07 or something like this. So we could see people eating chicken, but they told us, "Okay, no, you cannot sit." And so yeah, Amsterdam was totally a ghost town by this point. There was no restaurants at all, so we had to eat just at the hotel. They had a tiny lounge with like very simple stuff, and so it was kind of surreal. We were walking the streets, everything closed, everybody already with a mask. It was really fast for me, this change, you know. I was in this travel like thinking, okay, there's this thing happening in Asia, but it hasn't really hit the rest of the world like too hard. And then in less than a week, everything changed a lot. And to see this city, which is always so vibrant and always so full of people, totally deserted and totally empty, it was like super shocking. So at the end, we just went to Amsterdam for nothing. And then the next day, we flew back to Mexico. I ran in the Mexico airport. I ran into some friends that came to perform to a big festival called Vive Latino in Mexico City. And they had the first date, and then the second date was canceled. And I ran into these friends which were going back home because they couldn't perform. And that's when I really realized that this was kind of way bigger than I had in mind. And then came home and stayed here for the next many months. So weird situation.
I think we both had that feeling of foreboding, like when we were in Brazil, like there was a storm coming.
It
wasn't quite there. You hoped it wouldn't be as bad as you thought.
Exactly.
But you knew there was something coming. And I remember I went with Tigga and Seth Trucks and we played Warong after that, and I knew that was going to be one of my last gigs, and I better make it count.
I remember I was so jealous because we said goodbye, okay, and then the next thing I see is photo of you three guys like, woo! I was like, oh, I wish I would have continued the journey with these guys. But yeah, that was also one of my very last weekends. In that same trip, where was I? In Rio for a Circo Loco thing, which was also really, really nice. Then I saw you guys. Then here. That as soon as I came back, I had the Who Made Who guys here at home working on this thing we were doing. Then then the week after it was EDC Mexico, where we had the warrior stage, and that was my last Mexican weekend. Then I went to this Moscow thing, and that was it.
I mean, obviously, there's all the things that we all miss as DJs that we haven't been able to experience the last 6 months. Seeing friends, playing in front of an audience, the actual travel, the food, seeing the world, the restaurants. I mean, you're full of food. What do you there's all these obvious things that we all miss collectively. What is it that you miss? Have you had a chance to reflect on your life up to this point, and what is something that you miss the least from?
Definitely my priorities have shifted during this time. I realized so many things. I mean, first of all, I built this house in the last, I don't know, it took me like 5 years to build this house, and I finished it like a year and a half ago. So this is the first time I actually get to be here without traveling every weekend and to actually enjoy it. And so that was one thing that I was always thinking, okay, in the future, I would like to travel less and enjoy more my place. So
be careful what you wish for, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And then also I became a father a year and a half ago.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. So this was also like a new thing for me to spend so much time with my family and with the little one. So I was like, wow, this is so cool and so nice. Like
so the timing for you that all this happened was actually not bad. It was
kind of everything kind of fall into place. But so yeah, I've been really not very productive, sadly, but because every time I would have to choose between going to the studio, for example, or spend the time with my daughter in the garden, I always chose the garden. And so yeah, not much has been happening on my working side.
And do you have the studio in your house, or is it another place?
Yeah, I have the studio in the house, and it's very, very simple, but it's nice. I mean, for what I do and how I do it, it's kind of cool.
God, that space is so amazing. Look at that.
The space is fantastic.
Oh my God. What is that?
There's a hidden door.
What? Look at this. He's opening the
speakeasy. What's in there? Oh, the studio's in there.
That's where the real partying happens.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the backstage.
Oh my God.
Oh, simple studio, huh?
That's a simple studio.
Mo would be salivating right now, I think, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too. So sometimes I like we did with these guys. Don't tell anybody because this is a secret door.
Everyone knows now.
Yeah.
So sometimes I connect stuff to this room, like we did that time, and we like bigger instruments. We put them here in the dance floor, for example. So yeah, every now and then I go back there and work, and or for example, if I'm doing. If I'm not really playing stuff, I like to do it in the outside space, just with headphones, like editing and these kind of things. But
you got a bar like just next to the studio, which is a dream come true. I think every DJ producer in the world right now who's watching this is going to rethink
It was
Studio environment.
There's a bar next to the studio. That's great.
the idea behind it, of course, because I live in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't really apply really, but the whole idea behind of this space was because when I was reading, I don't know, like 15, 17 years ago, I was reading about actually Dave Mancuso. I thought, wow, this guy is genius. He has, you know, his place, the Loft. It was actually his loft, and he was having one of the most iconic disco parties in New York every weekend. And especially when I started traveling, I said, wow, this guy really was a genius. Instead of traveling, people would go to see him at his place. And once, like 10 years ago, in an interview for a thing I did for Turbo, for Tiga, and they were asking me about when I thought I would end playing, like when I would finish my DJ career or whatever. And I remember I said like, I don't think I would ever stop spinning records. I could imagine definitely stop traveling, and when that would happen, I would love to have like a tiny wood little disco place where I could play my favorite records, and maybe people would come to see me. So
Dream come true.
exactly. So the whole idea behind this is that one day I might stop traveling, and people, maybe some people that actually like what I do, might travel to see me perform in my own house. That's the whole idea behind it. I know.
And did you ever get to hear David Mancuso before he died?
No, that was so frustrating. I knew that he was going he was going like 4 times to London.
I went to the parties in London.
Oh my God. I wanted to go once to one of those.
Was that Ministry of Sound, Matt?
No, dude. The first one was at 93 Feet East. I mean, it's a strange concept because he's not mixing, so he's playing one record to the end. People sort of clap, and then he plays the next record. So it's quite a strange thing, and I'm sure when he was doing it in New York in the mid 70s, I'm sure it was very psychedelic and a very different kind of thing.
What did they do as far as the sound to give him the sound that he required?
I think they were modifying the system, but I'm sure it was nothing compared with the Loft. I'm sure.
Everybody told me that I've talked to over the years. They said he kept the sound quite low.
Yeah.
Wasn't loud by any means. You know?
His thing was high fidelity, rather than that was his thing. The best equipment, the best cartridges, the best amplifiers, everything.
That was his thing. They kind of replicated the thing. I guess it was not exactly as he used to have it, but they had these 4 clip horns in the corners, and that's also why I chose that this sound system for my place. It's all clipped, like from the 70s actually. And so yeah, I knew about this party, and then one weekend when I was going to London, I said, okay, it's the same weekend, I really want to go. And I told the promoter, and I was a little bit too confident. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and pay my ticket, and I was not aware that you had to buy it in advance. And when I arrived, they said, no, there's like a limited access. You had to buy your ticket before. And I could listen to his music play, like I was downstairs, the room was upstairs. So I just knew the guy was there, like a few meters from me. And I was like, come on, I came all the way from Mexico to listen to this guy, please. And my begging just didn't work. So I just had to leave. That was really frustrating. So I never really could listen to him play.
Were there any sort of guys like this in Mexico? I mean, you had Daniel Bordelli in Italy, and there was guys in Spain, but were there any disco or any great DJs from the 70s? Because of course it's a massive country there. Yeah, and I know it's full of records. So
yeah, definitely. In the 70s was not really, it didn't really hit Mexico, the disco era, I think. But in the 80s, for some reason, we developed a crazy high energy high energy scene.
But he's called it spaghetti disco, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard of this.
yeah, and there's one club in Mexico City which for some reason still runs, which is called the Patrick Miller. Patrick Miller is this guy, the owner of the place, who used to have like a sound system, and he would bring his sound system and play all these
Amazing.
this kind of thing, and it's still going on. And you go there, and there's like a strange subculture of high energy in Mexico City, and all these people, like office workers and stuff, they go there and they have like, instead of all being in the dance floor facing one place, they do like little rounds, like circles of people, and then people jump in the middle and do like a special dance.
Wow.
They jump out and then jump in, and it's really, really, really something. And for example, they in Mexico City, they still invite acts from that scene from back in the days. They sometimes come to perform here. And actually the guy from the Transx from Canada, the guy moved here because he realized that it's the last place on earth where they listen to his music like in a regular basis. And so yeah, somehow there's a crazy high energy scene more than
you know what's funny is like in LA, it was that music was also really popular with the Mexicans in LA too.
Really? Wow.
Like, there was like a backyard and club scene with that music, like in the 80s to like the early 90s. And actually, I could be completely wrong, but from what I heard is that scene is what kicked off the electronic scene here in LA. Like it came from that disco stuff.
Wow.
Energy disco into like the house music and techno and all that stuff.
Wow, crazy.
But it's, for some reason the Mexican people in LA, they love that stuff. And I know people now that are like, older than me that partied in the 80s that just like, that's like their shit. They love that stuff.
I just remember that movie Blood In, Blood Out, the epic. It's like the Godfather of, it's one of my favorite movies. Did they play any of this music in that?
I don't remember any of that in there. No, that was more like cholo culture. I know there were some.
I love that. That's my favorite word, cholo.
Cholo.
Or cholita.
There was like for sure, like I knew some DJs back in the days that were cholos that would DJ that stuff. But I can't remember if they played any of that stuff in that.
Cholos playing high energy. Wow.
It'd be weird. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Too happy for cholos.
Yeah.
So like, you have such an appreciation and a fondness for that era, David Mancuso, the Loft, sound systems, vinyl, analog. How do you, and I can't even remember, guys, maybe you can refresh my memory. What is the debate between vinyl and digital DJing? What's the debate? What's the argument?
Is it still going on? I mean,
we said on the show, that we would discuss it with the different guests that come on.
Don't we have different
but what is the
topics
debate exactly
already?
What are the vinyl protagonists saying about vinyl versus digital?
I don't think there's many, to be honest. I don't think, for all my friends who are the real vinyl nerds, I mean, they've all now succumbed. They'd rather find the high end, high quality file version of the music. That's what they want, because ultimately now with Discogs, I mean, it's kind of like, I think it's lost its appeal, I think, in many ways.
For me, it was more, I mean, it's still more like the mechanics of how to choose the next track. I mean, first of all, I always had this problem that especially when I was DJing only vinyl back in the day, or most of all vinyl. Many times I didn't know the name of the producer or the name of the track. Yeah. And I just recognized the records by the labels. It really happened to me a lot. So the transition to suddenly spin a little dial and see numbers was so difficult for me. And sometimes I wouldn't know I didn't have a clear idea what the next couple of tracks would be. So for me, it was a very natural thing to go back and do this classic go in the box, and then you, by seeing it, you would find the perfect record. And this doesn't really happen by spinning this little watching 1,000 names. You know, this doesn't pop up as much. So this change. I mean, of course, the digital world offers you so many other possibilities, which of course are great. But yeah, I was kind of missing this thing of the touchy thing, and was for me was always more about the actual mechanics of how it works. And also I have a little bit of this nostalgia thing, that sometimes I would find a record in the weirdest place, like a strange store and stuff. And for me, a weird record that I would find, I would always enjoy to play the actual record. I would never actually record it, you know. So for me, the story of how I would find a record was part of the reason of why I would play it. But it was more back in the day where I was more into these long sets and these weird things. And then, of course, when I started playing bigger stages and stuff, I realized that a lot of these records would sound awful on the side of a digital thing, or if I would play sometimes back to back with somebody with with super amazing digital files, it would be like happened to me. Like, for example, playing back to back with Maceo, for example, just to give like a bigger example of a big sound. Then I would play like one of my favorite records, but then he would play the next track, and my track would sound like this, and he would be like, "Wow!" I was like, "Wow, okay." So yeah, for me it was more like a nostalgic slash mechanics thing more than sound, this, that. I mean, here at my little room, I love playing records mostly, but yeah, I'm not, for sure, I'm not against digital. And of course, I love the possibilities that digital has, you know, like all these, especially with my kind of psychedelic approach of like repetitiveness and stuff. I can loop stuff forever and these things. And actually, very early in the I realized of the possibilities of digital stuff again, watching you at Schizo, Ali, in one of those deep dish nights. I realized I guess it was the second or third time I saw you. I realized that you guys had less records with you, and you were playing mostly CDs. And I was like, why was that? Why is that? And then I realized, because at that point I could recognize some of the tracks. And then I realized that your versions were different. So then I realized that you were making special versions and edits to play. And I was like, wow, these guys. And then I understood also that part of the charm of the digital stuff is that you can really work on your own stuff and make special versions. And I was like, oh, well, because first I was like, okay, why are these guys so lazy, not bringing records anymore? And then I was like, wow, they're playing these extended versions and this special, twisted things. So I was like, wow, cool. So yeah,
it's amazing.
Best of all. Are you still? I mean, when you're traveling in Mexico, are you still digging for vinyl? I mean, there's such a big country. I mean, there's so many records.
You must love record shopping in Japan, though. Like, we all love record shopping. It can get quite expensive, but you pretty much can always find anything that you're looking for.
Yeah. Sure. Japan, yeah. Actually, I have my little. It's a CD collection, but I have my little Japanese CD version collection of everything I have released. They have it in Japan with Japan letters.
Yeah.
So
I used to do that too, because I love the artwork and the spine.
Exactly. So I
strips.
I have every album in that version closed in the little Japan corner I have in my bibliothèque.
Where's your favorite place in the world to travel when you were able to travel? It's where you always love to go to.
Japan is one of those places, even if I don't go that often, but Japan is one of those places for sure. I mean, as many of you, I guess, do as well. Since you don't get to know much of the places, always food is a reference. So Japan is always top in the list.
Yeah.
And I developed this love to Moscow also, because also I have a lot of people that I know there, and and it's so modern in so many ways that I also love Moscow a lot. And, I mean, I go a little bit too often, but yeah, it's cool. Japan. Let's go. What else?
I'm happy with Japan. We can leave it.
Exactly. Let's leave it there. Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
Japan is great. Yeah, it's a little bit of another world.
Well,
Total different world.
we're over 2 hours now. I guess we should wind things down. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey,
It's good to see that you're
Thank you.
good, you're healthy, you're safe, you're happy.
yeah,
Thank you so much for inviting us into your home. This is such an amazing place.
I hope you can make it one day in
For
person.
sure. Yeah.
Wow, so nice.
And so you're going to be there's this project that's going to be aired on Saturday that you mentioned.
Yes.
Where can people watch that?
It's called Reset, and if you see in my socials, there's the links are there. I think the Reset Experience or something like this is called.
Yeah.
The link, and this one actually requires to be paid, because it was a big production and they're paying all the people involved. I mean, people who produced it, the light people, the camera people, etc. And so yes, this is my next digital appearance, and then after that, the week after, there's the digital burning. Yeah. The whole week, the Mayan Warrior is gonna be in the digital Burning Man, and my show is on Saturday, the week after, September 5th.
Awesome. Well,
cool, man.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing that. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Keep in touch.
See you guys.
My Mexican sake. I should give a plug to Nami.
Yeah, really good.
Mexican sake.
Yeah.
See you next week. Thanks,
thanks so much for being on.
Guys,
we're back next week. Who's our guest next week? What's happening?
Give me 1 second and I'll check. We're terrible. Next week we have Kobe from Sound in LA, who also books the Yuma tent in Coachella. And we also have Thierry from D Club in Switzerland, in Lausanne, right? Yeah, Lausanne.
So we have club promoters discussing the situation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, obviously the situation in the US and Switzerland, and kind of compare the two, and hear from club owners how they're coping, because I think it's important to hear from club owners as well as DJs. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you so much.